So I said the other day we had a President Taylor 3 we haven't done yet, and was there any interest? And the answer is there is some interest. So there's a real backlog of new sets, and we haven't got Mr. Chippy at the moment, so there's no on the air test, but we will do these when he comes back, so you don't expect them to happen in to be a couple of weeks. So I do this on Saturday, and yes, there was nothing yesterday because of commitments with other work. But President Johnson 2 is a brand new set, and it's fresh from the wholesalers. Somebody asked if I'd done it, and I said, well, I haven't. I'll just order one, seeing as we haven't had one. I never know how this warranty works, because they're not going to work right out of the box, are they? So what are you going to do? Send it back and say, it doesn't work right out of the box? Well, that's how it comes, you know. I never do. And then they'll say, well, you fiddled with it, so then the warranty's invalid. So we'll invalidate the warranty, because that's what we do here. These aren't that cheap. Right, one too light for its own good, Mike. Oh, another sticker. You see people selling Amstrad stickers from 1981 on eBay, don't you? I better save these stickers until they're worth something in 38 years' time. So I've got a destruction book with this one. I'll be careful how I say that. We'll end up with smoke out of the radio. But then the last President radio set up nicely, and it was 24 volts. So just looking at this first. 13.2 volts, 24 volts. So we'll see what happens at 12 to 24. 4 watts, 0.5 microvolts to 20 dB. That's saying a lot. I doubt that'll happen. We'll be doing image rejection in the future, but not yet. I've got something on bench 4A that I can't move at the moment. And we need to know some of these. Smoky dozing is a parked police car. What's a CB who's operating illegally? Apart from a bad buddy. Back in 81 when CB first came out, my sister was 3 years older than me. She said, oh, can I have a go on your CB radio? Yeah. And she got somebody and they said, how many candles are you burning? And that's, how old are you? And she looked down at the meter on the radio and she says 4, and that made him laugh. And something I've never forgotten. Right, so we'll probably know how to get the norms bit working. Anyone know how to get this out of the box? Well, you can't argue over the packaging quality. That's excellent, and that looks as much like a business radio, to be honest. You know, that could say Motorola on it or whatever, but yeah, when they start coming with front-facing speakers, forgetting the screen, because you wouldn't often get that on a business radio, but that's more the part. Made in Vietnam. So we'll open it up, but I'm not expecting anything we can adjust. Now, I can see the printed circuit board is that side, so we need to open this side. I like the way it's got the traditional 3 Uniden type connector. Okay, so fiberglass printed circuit board. Oh, there are some adjustments. Oh! Whoa, I wasn't expecting that. Right. So that looks to be like the FM detector. And then we've got things like AMC, automatic modulation control, AM mod. I don't know what RT482 is. FM mod. RT301, RT302. Automatic squelch control and squelch. I'm never sure how automatic these squelch controls are, whether they're just preset. So we've got a crystal for the reference oscillator and 2 other crystals. So that's a filter, and that's a reference crystal for the CPU. So we've got no adjustments in the receiver other than the detector, and we've got no adjustments in the transmitter whatsoever. But we're going to have a power control, which is probably RT402. So what I need to do, of course, is to see whether we've got a service manual on file, or whether I can find something about this. What I should have done is taken the power lead out of the little box. I'll tell you what's annoying if you don't have removable connectors, or if they're a weird removable connector, and that is if you've got a fleet of vehicles and all fitted with the same CB radio and one goes down, it just means you can pop the set out and pop another set in. And if you start having to have connectors which are wired in permanently, you can't do that. So I know there's a hobbyist market in this. There's a collector's market in CB, and there's also the business users market, and by that I mean, like we have the farmers here, they've got business radio to get back to base, but they can't use that to talk to each other in the tractors or other farm vehicles, because with business two-way radio it's nearly always not duplex, it's split frequency, so that it's vehicle to base, not vehicle to vehicle. And that's part of UK licensing regulations. Because otherwise you end up with the chit-chat which you can have on CB, which is why they have CBs. So they can chat to each other and have that banter. Are you ugly old what's it? When they're not at all. Right. So we'll power it up. We're on the 2.5 amp bench power supply. And we're on EU. So when we press AM FM, what's going to happen? Oh, that looks like locals say RF gain. So it'll do AM and FM on CPT only as we stand. So we need that trusty instruction book to see how we're going to get to UK channels. It's no good to us on CPT. Frequency band selection, here we go. Switch off the transceiver. Switch on with the F with channel 9 button. Okay. So now it started off on CPT AM, then the next press CPT FM, next press UK, and which of course is FM only. We'll pop that to channel 20, so then it will go through that again. AM CPT, FM CPT, and UK pops up, and of course FM. So here we go. Let's see how many watts it's doing. So I'm on full scale deflection and it's doing 3 watts. Yep. Deviation 1, 2 watts, 1.6, which is better than some, but wholly inadequate. It should be 2.2. There'll be nothing I can do to receive. It'll be how it is. We've just got that detector, which I trust will be FM. I will go and look if we've got any data on that. So I'll just put the frequency cap, the signal generator on. So we need to be plugged into the test equipment as far as the audio goes, so that it reads on the Synad meter. The radio doesn't have PA, for those of you who need PA. And we'll put this onto the Synad meter so we can all see. There's 12 dB. .3 of a microvolts for 12. So I think it's, let's see where 20 really is. 20's there, and it's 0.65 of a microvolt. So I'm not sure what their idea is. There's different ways of testing. We're in EMF mode, for example. On the signal generator, and you know you can vary these things. I have it on the most difficult to achieve lot of settings, so we can fiddle with that, but it doesn't say how they've done it, you see, because we've got PD or EMF, electromotive force, or potential difference. So that's on the output of our signal generator. So if I put it on PD, it's a better signal. EMS is harder to achieve. So they say at 20 dB Synad. So let's put it in the easier PD and look again. So now I can make it do 20 dB Synad for 0.31, that looks like. It's right on the edge of the scale. I'll just do it with the other one. Yeah, not actually 0.3, 0.31. So in which case, that's better than what they say. So it's all very subject to how you do the readings. But it works very well, and that's what it's about. So I'll go do some research, and we'll see if we can find out if I don't think there'll be any hidden menus, but I just want to ascertain that is the power. It looks like it is, and I want to ascertain that that's the FM detector, because otherwise I'm going to have to mess about and go into AM. Okay, it's discrepancy time. We'll take that off. Service manual, President Johnson 2. I've downloaded it. There's the radio. There's the radio. There's President Johnson 2. Publication date of this is 2014. I notice it's Uniden. So Uniden is still in business and they're still doing some of these radios. I don't think they're doing all of President's radios because there's quite a variation. So let's have a look at what it says on the back. Because my manual's got more adjustment points in this. And that doesn't say anything on the back. I think that's a date code for 2019 August, and then the serial number is 882. Now this service manual is 2014. Is there a difference in this 1224 volt model than the standard model? So I think we've got a difference. Yeah, it's definitely not 24 volt. It's 10.8 to 15.6 it says. So I've got a later model, and what we've got in the service manual are coil adjustments, which this hasn't got. So we've got some totally different layouts. Just me to have a different model. I'll just see if I can go and find anything on the 24 volt model. Okay, so I can't spot anything on this particular version. There seems to be 4 versions. There's this, there's the this is the 1224, there's the Vox version, Vox 1224. There's the ASC version, and although this has ASC, this isn't the Johnson 2 ASC version. So I think there's about 4 versions of this. So the manual we've got doesn't specify the version, but it's clearly the, shall we say, the 12 volt model. Right, so I'll get past all the I don't know whether anything will be relevant. So we've got 2 trimmers next to the crystal oscillator, and I would suspect that 301, I'm just going by previous sets from this make, I would suspect that the first one, 301, which is their traditional designation for a frequency trimmer, will be CPT, and that 302 will be UK channels. So, you know, it's guest time. So Kia 2779125, it's spot on, absolutely spot on. Let's adjust 302 and see what happens. Let's find a trimmer that fits. Let's still find a trimmer that fits. So I've found this would make me a screwdriver expert, I tell you. It's a precision screwdriver, and I've pinched it off Mr. Chippy's bench, seeing as he's not here. I'm actually the wrong way round, and the UK channels are RT301. So we can clearly see that that has now altered. So although it was spot on, I wanted to prove that. We'll change modes. Sorry, I mean channels. So we're now in CEPT set of channels. So that one will be CPT, I'm hoping. Yes. CPT. UK. Good. Well, that's something we've got right. And we can do deviation because that's labelled. Whoa, that's too loud. Whoa, that's slightly too loud. Whoa, whoa, that's slightly too quiet. Whoa, that's it, there we are. 2.2 with a maximum of 2.5. That's FM deviation done. And for those of you interested in AM, and we're not, and I haven't done any interest whatsoever, because it's on CPT, of course, and channels don't work very well in this area. You've got automatic modulation control, and you've got AM mod there. So that's what you'd be setting up for your, hopefully 90%. In the other version, it's 204 and 205. So that's done that. So what we're now looking to do is, I'm expecting that to be power. I would like to have proved it, but we can't. So there's our 3 watts. Without touching this metalwork, we have 4 watts. Excellent. Now I'll go on to CPT and see if we've still got 4 watts. 3.9. So I'm right, but I would have liked to have proved it with the manual. So we've got the deviation, we've got the transmitted power. I've shown you where AM is for those of you wanting to do AM. We've got Squelch and Auto Squelch to set up. And I need to see whether that's the detector. So let's go over to receive. I'll put this no good service manual on one side. You never know, one will come in for repair next week and we've got the manual. I didn't realise there were several versions of this. So we'll go with the oscilloscope. Take the bench light off so people can see it. Put an S9 equivalent signal on. Plug the extension speaker back in. And hope that we are correct. We are. So it's FM demodulator, whatever you call it. So, discriminator. That's another setting done. Now what you can't do is set the S meter. And for our S9 signal, actually it says we're doing 9. It's spot on. It's spot on how we want it. On transmit, it's saying what? More than 4. Yeah, right. So while we're on transmit, and I'll put the light back on and the camera back on the power meter, we are at 13.8 volts. So I'll drop it down to 12. In fact, there's 11.8. The radio is now doing 3.5 watts. So 13 point. It's not bad. I mean, a lot of older sets will be. I'll tell you what. We'll start at 12. That's probably fairer. So at 12 volts, 3.5 watts. Now, a fully charged battery is 12.8, and it's about 3.8 watts. So what happens when we go to 24 volts? That's 24 volts now, and it's still 4 watts. That's the point at which it changes. Yeah, from 13.2 upwards, it's 4 watts, and from 11.8 volts to there, it's about 3 watts. So it's better than a lot, and it does do 24 volts without blowing up. I'm just feeling the capacitors. Right, so that leaves us with Squelch. Now, full Squelch is I want it to be able to open for S9. So I've got the set now on full Squelch. We'll go over to the attenuator controls. S9, which is 100 microvolts. So when does it come in? Well, never. Oh, it does. I'd knock the volume control. 3 millivolts. Far too much. So I need to drop that until it opens for S9, because that's how I want it to be. That's now exactly S9 where I want it. So let's see where the auto Squelch is. Really needs to be around about between 1 and 3 microvolts. So we're at 0.3, 1, 3. Yeah, that's fine. And that comes in at 3 and drops off at 0.8 of a microvolt. So it's got a useful range what we call hysteresis. So now, with the squelch at minimum, let's see what the sensitivity is like. So I turn the signal generator to standby, set the squelch to threshold. It's a faff with it being concentric, but it's better than it being on a push button. So that's set threshold. Let's switch the signal generator back on and see where it comes in. So it's coming in at 0.85 of a microvolt. It's leaving it 0.6. So you really can't complain over that. That's great. So we've got 4 watts. We've got 2.2 deviation. It does the 24 volts. It works down to 13.2 volts at full power, and then it drops off as it goes to its absolute minimum of 11.8. But it's still a useful power output. We've got an attenuator here, which I would think is an RF gain idea. Yep. It's got a high cut, so that knocks the treble down. Well, you need as much treble as possible, I find. It's got scan and it's got these memory functions. Take it beep will be for front panel controls. Yep. So we'll put that back on. Obviously it's got quite a few features. Just see if there's something I need to mention before we put the lid back on. And there's me thinking it would be secret menus only. So it tells you about SWR, it tells you about the automatic squelch control, which is a preset squelch control. It's got a 19 or 9 button. Dual watch. Noise blank for people using AM. Scan. And then you've got memories, so you know, for your favourite channel. It's like we're using 31. We may have a situation where we're using another channel as well. It'd be quick to hop between two, with it being up down on the mic. It's a 6-pin mic plug, and it's got a timeout timer, which is 5 minutes as it's set. Right, I'll put the lid back on and then we'll put it on the aerial. And what we'll just do before we put it on the aerial is we'll get that Zetagi meter out. So we've got 4 watts into the Marconi test set. So this is at least 20% fast of reality. So it's going to be something like 4.8. Oh, 5.2. Right. So we'll pop this on the aerial. It's a nice set, this. And it's got enough bar graph for it to be meaningful. And it was, at least on receive, set how you'd expect it to be set. Even though it's not adjustable, it was set right. Because when we looked at one the other day, it was a bit, and that was a precedent, it was quite a way out to what we would expect to be normal. Well, Nana Roger. As ever. Someone with a head in the bucket on 37. There's one function which I haven't seen, and that's whether you can do anything different with the display.
Jesus, yeah, a lot of flags been cancelled lately, and they even suggested or offer to the money to do the phone vouchers. Jesus.
Well, he's got a burner if anybody had.
It's been 3 years since the last time I was there. It's been 3 years. Yeah.
I just can't stand listening to his off-frequency, high-powerness. No, that's something I can't spot. Anyway, there we go. That's the President Johnson 2 24 12 volt with ASC. So I said there's about 4 versions of this, and that's what this one is. But at least we didn't leave any controls which we didn't know what they did, so we did manage to sort everything out on that. And it's nice having a front-facing speaker because it really looks like a business radio, as I said at the beginning. So thank you for watching the President Johnson 2 12 24 volt current model, and we're recording this in 2021.